Hi, welcome to the Y&Y YouTube channel. My name is Angela and all of the places you can find me should be linked in the description box below this video. Welcome to a Y&Y Extra video. I'm going to take you on a tour of my craft room today. Even the not so eagle-eyed amongst you will notice I'm not in my craft room right now. I do often come down to the beach to craft, but I can't claim this as my own. Wouldn't that be nice to have a private beach? Did want to stay in this really remote cottage in Scotland that had its own little private beach, and we spotted seals on the beach. It was really lovely. The cottage also came with its own inhabitants, some mice and some shrews, which was fine until I woke up to find one of the mice on the pillow. Anyway, that's a whole other story. I do not have a private beach, although at the moment it feels pretty private. There's no one else around. As you can see, it's really foggy today. The fog is due to lift a little bit later on today, which is great because I want to get on and do some more processing of that lovely fleece that I showed in my extra video. Now I am going to sit and enjoy the peaceful, quiet, really serene atmosphere for a little while. I didn't bring any projects with me to do today. But then I shall take you home and we'll have a little peek at my craft room, which a lot of you have been asking for. It's had a little bit of a tidy up. It's probably as tidy as it's going to get. I'm sure some of you will still be gasping at the messy corners, but I know it's going to get worse again before it gets better. So I think this is as good a time as any to give you a tour of that room. As you can see, I am back at home and I'm about to give you the craft room tour. It's a little bit dark in the corridor here. It's turned out to be a really sunny day. The mist lifted and it's glorious out there, a bit too hot. So we've got all of the doors and the curtains and everything shut, trying to keep the house a bit cool. I've come upstairs and I'm stood at the top of my landing. It's my bedroom door behind me. Just in front of me, there's another staircase, which is going to take me up to my craft attic. By the side of the stairs, I've got this little ledge. Let's go up a stair or two, so I'm on the same level. And I've got all of these jars that I filled with little scraps of fabric. I used to do a lot more sewing and quilting back in the days of Yahoo groups, showing my age there probably. I belonged to a couple of postcard making groups. Used to send a lot of fabric postcards and art postcards all around the world. So I used to keep every little scrap of my fabric because I never knew what was going to come in handy. I've actually recently fished out this packet of English paper piecing hexagons I purchased a couple of years ago. I've been inspired by Davina of the Little Workroom Crafts and Anita of Gaga Knits. They've been doing some English paper piecing recently, and these are really small, as you can see, 1-inch hexagons. And I had the idea when I bought these of using some of my jar scraps to make a few hexagon flowers to add to project bags. Never quite got around to doing that, so maybe now is the time to use some of these rainbow scraps. I've also got my button jar in the corner there. Zoe from Pins and Needles showed off her button jar the other day, which I always love a good rummage around in a button jar. So I'm almost at the top of the stairs. Oh look, we've found a newtie. This room is really hot. It's an attic conversion room, and on a day like today it just gets really warm up here on the verge of greenhouse. So this is one of Newtie's favourite place to hang out. Straight in front of me there, you'll recognise the orange wall. I often sit in the floor in front of that to record my weekly vlog, and I have all of my works in progress lined up there, and I've got my gnome army and some special little friends that I have been sent or I've made hanging out on the shelf. I've got my gallery wall with lots of different bits and pieces. I've got the mosaic crochet that I recently made, an abstract bit of needle felt that I made in a class at the Knit Tea retreat. I've got various artworks and a lovely oyster catcher there from Cat's Eye Collective. It was sent to me by my lovely friend Erin. Let's go in a bit closer. I've got a couple of hearts. I think that one was a gift from Erin as well. That one was from Emma, and that's the heart that I made from my very first handspun. I've got a few other bits and pieces that usually hang on this wall as well, but they have made it to other various places around the house at the moment. But I want to regather them and add them to my wall. I've got a lovely little sweater that was made for me by my friend Jen. I've got a robin that was sent to me and made for me by Chris. And what else have I got? Oh, I've got a little orange cat as well that was sent to me by my friend Emily. They usually live on this wall, but I forgot to bring them back up. They've been hanging around in different parts of the house, bringing me cheer. So let me step back a bit. Newtie having a good old stretch. She's moved across the floor a little bit. So I'm back at the top of the stairs, and perhaps we'll just go around the room. So this is a little bit of a messy corner at the moment. I've got my comfy chair there, and in the basket there I have got some yarn that I'm using in some current sweater projects, so the extra balls. That amazing box of goodness there is all of the things that I've recently received for the Yarn and Yarns community window display, and I've been saving them up ready for when the shop reopens, and I'll just take them all back ready for when I'm going to do the display. A bookcase. This is all my kind of sewing books and sort of other craft books, not my knitting books in that one. And then I've got some old magazines on the top there, along with a collection of various friends, including my art dolls, which I've showed you before. So coming around from that, under the slope of the ceiling, I've got my yarn stash basically. So if I come across here, you've seen my indie dyed yarn stash before. I think I've sat and recorded a couple of times in front of that set of cubbies. Back here, I've got down the bottom there is my commercial sock yarn stash and some extra bits and pieces. That is also commercial yarn, a lot of Rowan 4-ply and some DK in there. This box here is actually yarn that I've sorted out for D-stash when I get round to that. And then in that final box there, I've actually got some knitted items. You might be able to see my love note poking up there. They're just bits and pieces that have been hanging around up here. I tend to come up here and be wearing a shawl or a nice woolly jumper, and then it gets really warm up here really quickly, so I tend to kind of abandon things up here. But I've got a nice tub there now where I can sort of put things in if I do need to grab them, or if I do need to discard them because it's too warm. I know exactly where they are and they're staying nice and safe. Newtie is over in the corner there investigating. My fabric stash is in the corner. So that definitely needs some reorganisation. That's the one thing that I haven't really touched over the last few weeks. I need to do something about that. It's all just rammed in there at the moment. I've got another lovely piece of art from my friend Hazel. Hi Hazel. That will be framed once we are sort of out of lockdown and the shops reopen. We've got a really nice framer here in Penarth, so I'm waiting to have that lovely oyster catcher picture framed. I've got a few craft books in the corner there, mostly knitting and crochet. And then, so we're coming round to the orange wall. On the other side of the room, I have got my fibre stash and my hand spun yarn with a bit of an overflow in the corner. Again, it's pretty messy in this area. I've got my desk where I do my journaling, so I've got all my journaling bits and pieces, some paper, graph bits and pieces. And actually under the desk at the moment, I've got that lovely sort of blending box of fibre that my friend Mandy sent me a few weeks ago that I'm waiting to dive into. These bags here are kind of filled with tote bags and project bags. I need to give those a good sort out because I think I'm going to de-stash a few of the bags that I have, particularly the tote bags. I think one of these bags is full up with sort of canvas tote bags, and I just don't tend to use them that much. So I've got one or two that I do use, and then the rest just kind of sit there. So that's kind of on the agenda to do. I've got a little quilted wall hanging I made for my great aunt, who sadly now passed away. So I was able to be gifted that as a nice memory of my aunt to hang in my own craft room. Nutty is following us around. I think she's going to disappear down the stairs. Yeah. So yes, as you can see, we're back almost to the stairs, and I have got in the corner here, I've got my collection of driftwood from the beach. I'm hoping to do a little bit more reorganising. So try not to make you too seasick, but swing you back around. I've got a brown basket there, I don't know if you can see it, with my hand spun, but it's not quite big enough, it's overflowing. And then down in my little chair corner, I've got a bigger basket, which, as I say, it's got some yarn that I'm currently using in various sweater projects. And you can see the cardboard box is kind of sinking down into that basket, so I don't need a basket that big for those projects at the moment. So what I'm thinking of doing is swapping the bigger basket over with the hand spun basket, and then finding a new place for the sweater quantities and using this basket here as a home for my driftwood collection. So that's the plan. Haven't quite got there yet. Excitingly, I have this new basket with my washed fleece that's ready for prep. So that's all the fleece that I washed yesterday. It's all nice and dry, and at some point this week, maybe later today, I'm going to start carding that up. In the corner here, I've got my makeshift Lazy Kate, and I've got this basket here is yarn and fibre that's come into the house this year in 2020, and my aim was to work through anything that I bring into the house. So that's kind of like my little reminder basket of things that if I want a new cast on, or if I'm looking for some inspiration, I go rummaging in there first to see if I can get some of that stuff on the needles or on the wheel, on the spindles, before anything else. Down in the corner there, I've got loads of little totes, which have got, you'll see, let me close in a little bit. Some of them have sewing cottons, and they're all grouped by colour. I've got a lot of those dotted around, and then others have got sort of notions and embellishments, so also colour coordinated. I have these tubs with kind of lace and ribbon and a few buttons and beads, sequins, all that sort of malarkey. And then the last section of the room is this case from IKEA, and I have got all of my favourite knitting books in here. So along the top I have got issues of Shetland Wool Week magazine, Pom Pom, and a couple of issues of Making and things like that. And along the bottom I've got some stitch dictionaries and other knitting books that I refer to quite often. I've got a couple of lovely handmade baskets which have got a collection of progress keepers and stitch markers. And then this side, various bits and pieces. My sock blockers are tucked in there. I've got some Dorset buttons that I've made in that button box. And then the baskets underneath are various leftovers. So there's fingering weight 4-ply sort of sock leftovers. There's a couple of mixed baskets that have just got various bits and pieces in. We've even got some tapestry wool down there that you can probably see. And there's a few notebooks put in there as well. Some more embroidery floss tucked down the corner, and then some random knitted and woven items. Along the top here I have got my ball winder. I actually have two ball winders, so I have this wooden one from Knit Pro, and then over here I've got this plastic one which I bought ages ago from Amazon, and I keep them both going. I use them both at various times. This one I love, it makes gorgeous cakes of yarn, but you have to kind of like grip it with a downwards grip like this, which I don't find ergonomically the best, and it's a bit sort of heavier to push around. I haven't got the tension band on it there at the moment, whereas This one over here is a bit lighter, and you're kind of like pushing round rather than gripping down. So I find that much easier on my hands, and I quite often use this one when I'm winding my handspun, because there isn't as much sort of tension or force needed to turn this ball winder. So if I'm worried that maybe my singles aren't the strongest, then I use that one. Back over this way, I have got a couple of yarns that I'm waiting to put into stash. These are my Cartref yarns that I recently bought. They're not going into my basket though, because if you remember when I purchased these, I also want to buy a sweater quantity of another colour to make a colourwork sweater, so I know these won't be going on the needles just yet. I've got the other half of the fibre that I'm spinning on my drop spindle at the moment. I've got various baskets and canisters with my crochet hooks, my spindle collection, my straight needle collection. I don't use these very often, but some of those were my mum's, so I keep them really for sentimental reasons. And then there's another jar down here hidden by the spindles. Let's come around this way, which has got my DPNs in. And then I've got my Swift, which I tend to move along the countertop here if I need to use it. And then I've got a pile of some of my favourite books, just sitting in the corner looking fun. Yeah, so that is pretty much it. Over on the wall at the back behind the staircase, a couple of textile pictures that I made a while ago, and again I think I've shown those off in the videos before. So that is the grand tour. I shall swing round ever so slowly again. You notice these like random circles and things on the wall. That's what was here when we moved in. I've not really done any decorating in the house, other than to paint the orange wall, but there are a few random bits and pieces around. So yes, not the tidiest, but probably the tidiest it's been for a long while. Down in front of the chair is going to be my beekeeper quilt, and after a while I realised I was never going to make enough hexie puffs for a quilt, so I've made a little mat, little rug to rest my feet on in front of that cosy corner. So yes, I hope you enjoyed my craft room tour, and if there's anything you've seen, anything you've got questions about, anything you want to see more of, then let me know. I can always do separate vlogs chatting about individual things if anyone is really that interested. I think that's all I have for you today. Let me know about the space that you use for crafting. I recognise that I am very lucky to have this entire room, and it's quite a big room as well. It's not the easiest of spaces because I can only really stand up in the middle of the room. As I go across here, I start getting into hit my head on the ceiling territory. But I'm very grateful to have this space to store all of my things. You may be asking, Angela, where are your spinning wheels? They actually live in the living room. And the desk that I use for my journaling used to be my sewing desk. My sewing machine at the moment lives in the dining room. James is a very patient man. So I say I've got a crafting room, but I've kind of taken over the whole house really. What can you do? It keeps me happy, it keeps me quiet. Well, depends on your definition of quiet, probably. James may beg to differ. Anyway, tell me about the spaces that you have in your house for crafting. I'd love to know. Are you like me and are extremely lucky and have your own room or your own space, or do you just carve out a cosy nook somewhere in the house where you keep your current projects, your stash, the things that make you happy? Let me know in the comments below, and I'd love to see pictures. So if you want to post a picture of your craft space and tag me over on Instagram, where you'll find me as Rainbow Ange, I'd really love to see your crafting spaces. Until we get to spend time together again, I hope you get to do some of the things that you enjoy. Great big woolly hugs to you all. Bye for now. Bye.